Brady, street reporter of the New World Order, giving y'all the news. You know, I'm the editor-in-chief of BFN, so I gotta keep it real with the people. We the voices for the people. We gotta let y'all know what's going on, because my niggas really don't know what the fuck going on out here. Another one of Trump's cronies on Friday actually got indicted for obstruction, witness tampering, and lying to Congress. We talking about a man by the name of Roger Stone. A man got motherfucking Richard Nixon, Tricky Dicky, tatted on his back. That shit crazy, bro. And then when he came out of actually getting bailed out, he was like raising his hands in peace signs as if he were Richard Nixon himself. So, you know, the universe has a weird way of telling us like what the fuck going on, what's not. I mean, how can you? The man praises a known liar and a known criminal, a political criminal or whatever. So probably guilty, right? But we don't know. We'll see how this shit plays out. Bobby Mueller, he on the asses, bro. Let's keep it a buck. Yo, we back from a government shutdown. It's been on pause for 3 days. Don't think it's over. He said it's only going to be, and when I say he, I'm talking about that fuckboy Donald Trump. He said it's only going to be suspended for 3 weeks until, just to allow like people to get, workers to get their money and all of that jazz. But I don't know how that's going to work since all of that stuff is backed up anyway. So we'll see how that pans out. He also said that after 3 weeks, they're going to come back to the table. He still wants that $5.7 billion for that nefarious, preposterous, racist-ass wall that he wants to put along the southern border of the U.S. Forget that the border originally belonged to, like, Central Americans and Mexicans and all of that, whatever. Some white supremacist shit, but, you know, we'll see how this shit go the fuck down. Signing out. My homie, my dog, Chris Brown, finally escaped that rape case out in Paris. You know what I mean? Was allowed to leave unscathed or whatever. And, you know, we rooting for him, but the homie make it hard to root for him, man. He's gonna come out and then come out with a shirt talking about this bitch lying. He got the words printed over the picture of Mona Lisa. God damn, bro, why would you do that? That is just so immature. You're supposed to hold your head up high, take the higher road. I know people be throwing shots at you, my guy, but at the end of the day, you know what I mean? You get your defamation suit or whatever, because he filed for a defamation suit against Shorty or whatever. And, you know what I mean? Just take your win and take it how it did when you're a public figure, bro. You want to make that shirt? What if Donald Trump buy your shirt? You know what I'm saying? Like, what if motherfucking Bill O'Reilly buy your shirt? Come on, you got to think, my guy. But that's what's happening, man. Sounding out, my guy. Dang. Dakota Theriot. You know what I'm saying? Another white boy mass murderer went on a rampage in Louisiana earlier this weekend or whatever, where he basically ended up shooting a woman that was befriending him and letting him stay with her family or whatever. He killed her, he kills her father, and he kills her younger brother. Like, that's wild as fuck. Then he goes on, he steals the father's car, then he goes on to his parents' house and ends up shooting his parents. Mind you, this kid is on the run, and police get him or whatever. And shout out to the homie Illinois. He's a rapper from Jersey City or whatever, brought to light the fact that, yo, he was picked up unscathed. They ain't even shoot him up. And if he was had my skin tone, you know he wouldn't even be here to talk about it. But now they got him in the office. Yo, we need to really look into like why these white motherfuckers going crazy. MK Ultra, some government conspiracy. So over the weekend, actually, there was a situation in Binghamton City in New York. That's more in the upstate area, where 4 12-year-old girls were being asked for strip search. And here goes my daughter in the background. So you know this shit real for me. They were strip searched because they were basically just a little hyper or whatever. They described it as being giddy or something like that. In a way that's not really different from how you would expect little girls to act or whatever. But this is while they were in school. They were asked to strip search. 3 of them actually like ended up taking off their shirt. One of them was kept from. One of them refused to suffer the in-school suspension. So, of course, this highlights the war that's on black girls and women all across the board. Fellas, you know, we gotta protect our own, but y'all already know that, especially if y'all fucking with me. So, you know what I mean? Giving y'all the news again. You know, signing out, man. Shit is disgusting. In Venezuela, actually, they have a president, Nicolas Maduro, who probably has been doing you could say a bad job maybe from the outside looking in, because their currency is like worth next to nothing. Like it's extremely inflated. Like, you know, check out my previous broadcast, the Black Fox News broadcast on that. I believe we covered that in like broadcast 12 and 2011, possibly even before that. But nevertheless, now the government is trying to, our government is actually trying to say, issue a coup, basically name some whole other dude as the president, saying they acknowledge this other man as the president instead of the democratically elected one. So, the U.S. up to, some other war games. See how this plays out, man. Mr. Grady, Streets reporter of the New World Order, world-renowned editor-in-chief of BFN, a.k.a. Black Fox News with the Z at the end, a.k.a. Big Facts Now. Definitely go check us out. Listen, giving y'all a new report, daily report, letting y'all know what the fuck going on. Congressional Budget Office, them people up in Washington, D.C. that determine what was spent by our government and what needs to be saved and etc., determined that $11 billion were lost from this government shutdown, which lasted for 35 days, 18 days longer than any other shutdown in history. That's $11 billion from this dickhead that was dick measuring with the whole fucking country to try to get $5.7 billion. How idiotic is that? Republicans, is this your king? Shit crazy, man. See what the fuck. We got some ill shit coming our way. We talking about a polar vortex. Sound like some old end of the world type shit, really. But it's gonna hit the Midwest really hard. The Midwest of the United States of America, that is. You know what I mean? For all my international viewers and followers and fans and all of that. You talking about Wisconsin issued a state of emergency. You know what I mean? It's hitting the country this week. Chicago is actually expecting to see temperatures that are 60 degrees below zero. Now, I'm from Jersey where it's frigid, and I ain't never heard of nothing like that in my life. So this is definitely some old extra shit. But for those that might not be in the know, this does not mean that global warming doesn't exist, you dig? Whether it's man-made or whatever, it's like its own conversation or whatever, but nevertheless, this could be a direct result of global warming. Our government actually issued sanctions today against Venezuela, which is located south of our country, but is at the very tippity top of South America. And the sanctions are specifically against the oil company which is state-owned, called SDVSA, SDVSA. I don't necessarily know how to pronounce it, but nevertheless, it's designed to make the country crumble. So we want to essentially get that president out of there and put in some other president that came out of nowhere in order to help the people, but we want to destroy their economy in order to do so. Doesn't make any sense, but we're gonna see how this shit play out. China just launched this ballistic missile called the Dongfeng-26. It can travel anywhere from 1,800 to 3,600 miles, which is the Earth's equator is about 26,000 miles or whatever. So you're talking about teetering around 10% of the Earth's equator is how far it can travel. Nevertheless, we have a territory out there called Guam. It's actually in the Pacific Ocean. It's right off the coast of, I don't want to say right off the coast, but it's well within the range of that missile. People are scared and shitting in their boots because America has actually been putting ships into their territories, into the China seas or whatever, and they've been seeing that as threatening, and we've been we don't give a fuck. So now they're doing that, and they seen that as a show of power. So, we'll see how this all plays out. They supposed to be allies, but this is Grady, Streets reporter of the New World Order, editor-in-chief of Black Fox News. And y'all know what the fuck going on. Hey, Jussie Smollett, violently attacked by two men. I don't think I'm saying his name right, but the gay dude from Empire. Very talented individual, whatever, but was viciously attacked by two men who apparently were hauling homophobic and racial slurs and threw some unknown chemical substance onto him. And I guess when they left him with a rope tied around his neck. White supremacists up to their old tricks again. And it's fucked up. I don't think anybody deserves that. I hope these two dudes, at the very least, get an ass whipping. It won't even be enough for me if they go to jail. Somebody need to do them dirty. So just letting y'all know what's happening. We'll see how this pans out. He's apparently in good condition. He's gonna recover well. So Shout out the dude that actually shot up the Jewish synagogue in Pittsburgh last year. I think it was on October 27th, late October. He's actually being filed. The federal grand jury indicted him on or filed 19 new charges against him. And what ended up happening was he went into a Jewish synagogue and killed 11 people, 11 Jewish worshippers. So some more hate crime shit. Of course it was a white man. You know what I mean? I'm sorry though, all my white friends, yo. These motherfuckers, you know what I mean, making y'all look bad at the end of the day. So, you know, that's something y'all gotta deal with internally. Most likely though, if you an ally of mine, you know what I mean, you don't even claim them type of fuckboys. But nevertheless, that's what's going down. The dude probably gonna rot in hell at some point, so fuck off to him. You know what I mean? Rest of, condolences to those families that lost somebody in that shit. 30,000 people actually this past Friday went on strike. That's a lot of fucking people. It's about 30,000. They went on strike in the border city of I believe Matamoros, and which is like a border city in Mexico. It's like right outside of Texas. Brownsville, Texas to be exact. And you know, they actually managed to get 27 out of the 48 plants that they were going on strike at to concede to their demands, which really was a 20% raise in their pay. So that's a big deal. 27 out of 48. You know, they still, I guess, hoping for the other 21 to come through. But that just shows y'all the power of unity. When we come together, how we can make things happen. And most of them were white-owned companies. Let's keep it buck. So we got the U.S. government that's actually issuing sanctions against the country of Venezuela, and they're doing so by basically saying all money made from Citgo, which is a Venezuelan-owned company, it's owned by their state-run oil company, PDVSA, and 100% so since 1990. All the money made from that, they're trying to freeze it, saying you can't get it. All in attempts to force the current president out of office, President Nicolas Maduro, who has done a terrible job. Most would say the VAT and the Bolivar, their currency has decreased. All the way to one point last year, it was like 1/6 millionth of a dollar in its worth. And they're trying to acknowledge a whole nother nigga as president, Juan Guaido. And they actually want to give him the assets. So it's real crazy. We'll see how that's going to play out. I mean, it's wild as fuck. Director of National Intelligence, Dan Coates. You know what I'm saying? This is basically the guy that monitors, like, that pretty much controls what is going on regarding intelligence in the country. Anything dealing with, like, NSA or, you know, even CIA, things that are recorded, picked up, data that's picked up through the internet and even through an outlet like this or whatever. They over that. This guy basically admits to the Senate Intelligence Committee that North Korea will not denuclearize their weapons. And this is something that I myself have been telling y'all for the longest. They're not gonna feel safe in giving up their nuclear weapons, especially if we as Americans don't give up ours. If y'all just look at to the Korean War and see how we bombed the fuck out of them, or check out our latest broadcast. But admitted what we already knew and already tried to tell y'all, so now y'all know. 65 people actually died in a dam collapse, or bridge. It was a dam and a bridge or whatever, but it collapsed in Brazil. And 5 people got arrested for it. Not only did 65 people die, but there are 300 people still missing. And the collapse actually caused tons of like iron debris and ore to actually spill onto like the streets and then the neighboring highways and thoroughways and all of that. So it just caused a major catastrophe. So this goes to show y'all how precision when it comes to like engineering and all of that is just, you know, you can't even articulate the full importance of it, because, you know, lives are at stake. So that's what happened in Brazil. Just let y'all know. We'll see how it pans out. Hey, Roger Stone, Trump ally, Trump political advisor, and all around goofy, actually pleaded not guilty yesterday to all charges of obstruction of justice, lying to Congress, and witness tampering. So what he doesn't understand is what black people, our people already do understand, which is that once them feds get you, bro, you got it. They got a 99% conviction rate. They already know what you got going on. You talking about things that are as basic as lying. Like, They wouldn't have came and got you out your crib if they didn't already have you red-handed. So that's why y'all call you all-around goofy. And the man got Richard Nixon tatted on his back. I think I mentioned that before in my BFN report. So just reminding y'all what's happening. We'll see how this plays out. I'm curious, because will white supremacy prevail? Who knows? We'll see. Reporter of the New World Order and editor-in-chief of Black Fox News, Bishop Grady, about to let y'all know what the fuck going on. The American Heart Association actually reported that nearly half you motherfuckers, we're talking about 121.5 million or 48% of adult Americans have some sort of a heart disease, whether it's coronary heart disease, whether it's heart failure, whether we're talking about strokes, or we're talking about high blood pressure. All of this comes from our diet and lack of exercise or whatever. But if you remove high blood pressure from the situation, though, it comes down to about 9%. So a lot of motherfuckers is running around with high blood pressure. Basically, y'all need to stay off the high cholesterol, fix your diets, exercise regularly, and stick to fruits and vegetables and high alkaline foods that we should be used to. You dig what I'm saying? At the end of the day, we got to do better. You know what I mean? You really can't take care of your family, your people, or whatever when you out here dying and moving slow because your heart might stop. You know what I mean? Signing out, man. War Green and graduate. So it turns out that the Congress is they're trying to reintroduce the War Powers Resolution Bill, which will essentially, this was originally introduced in 1973 and was made an act where the president cannot go send troops out into war, to engage in war, without there being a declaration of war by Congress. And essentially that's supposed to give power to the people, since we vote for members of Congress to be in Congress congressional seats. Nevertheless, it's never resulted in the prosecution of a president. Plenty of presidents have violated it. Our last 4 presidents have without authorization actually went on Obama campaign in Iraq, for example, which makes the whole 9/11 thing so dangerous, because that kind of put us into this perpetual war, and that's just some more other shit. But we'll see how this plans out. War Green and graduation. Stay tuned. So it turns out that there's a polar vortex going through the Midwest, as I reported yesterday. But the crazy thing about it is it's resulted in these little mini earthquakes called cryoseisms or seisms, SEISM. S to make a plural, whatever. Little quakes that have been caused by water that's underground actually freezing and expanding, therefore breaking up the rock and the soil. So that's been happening. It's resulted in over 10 deaths, actually, at least 10 deaths. And it's so bad that they have to light the tracks for railways on fire in order for trains to still be able to run, I guess, to keep it from expanding or allowing it to expand without cracking. So it's getting real over there. You're talking about degrees and temperatures being seen at 50 below. Pray for those people, man. European Parliament actually voted today and said that they recognize Juan Guaido as the president of Venezuela, even while the official president is still Nicolas Maduro, who won by what are others deemed to be a very faulty democratic process. A lot of people fear that the U.S. government is actually going to invade Venezuela. The other day, National Security Advisor John Bolton, he actually had written on his pad that there would 5,000 troops to Colombia. Now, if you know geographically, Colombia is right on the west side and adjacent to Venezuela. So it's just looking like it's gonna things are gonna get bad before they get good. Guaido already said he's granting amnesty to the military if they stop supporting Nicolas Maduro. So we'll see how this happens. There's a lot of crazy shit going on, though. Stay tuned. War Green and graduation. So it turns out over 1,000 leaked documents have actually may possibly have reached the hands of Russians, may have been leaked by the Russians, and may have gotten to the hands of Russian lawyers who are actually representing the Russian hackers who were indicted last year for colluding with essentially sabotaging the American election system or whatever, going into the election polls, possibly altering data, and hacking onto these accounts, swaying people to vote for Donald Trump. Essentially, it's just real murky up there in the White House. How could these documents that are from Special Counsel Robert Mueller, whatever, that they're supposed to be using to investigate this Russian probe, end up in the hands of Russians? Like, it's real shady over there. You know what I mean? I wouldn't trust none of them characters if I was anybody standing next to them. So, we'll see what happens. Stay tuned. War, Green, and Grass. Right now, we got hundreds of schools closing in Thailand and Bangkok specifically because they have a whole blanket of smog going over the city, and it's being caused from all types of pollution, vehicle exhaustion, pollution from agricultural and other factories. And it's just getting crazy at the end of the day. The pollution over there, already know it's terrible in China. And shit, let's keep it a buck. It's terrible in America. You know what I'm saying? Everybody need to stay woke and go green. Stop playing. Let's get like these other countries, like these Nicaraguas and these other countries or whatever that are committing to going green. Shout out to everybody in California that was in the government that actually committed to doing so. And a couple other cities around the country. We need to get with the fucking program. Stop playing. They scared of these coal oligarchs, but we'll see how this all pans out. You know what I mean? Stay tuned. War, Green, and graduation. So it turns out the UAE, the United Arab Emiratis or whatever, they actually hired over 12 ex-NSA agents. NSA being the National Security Agency here in America that was exposed by former NSA agent Ed Snowden years ago for having all of these invasive spy tactics that just led to a dragnet surveillance program over all Americans, which, violates our constitutional rights. Let's keep it a buck. But nevertheless, the UAE was known for having a mansion in Abu Dhabi, or they were discovered to have a mansion in Abu Dhabi. You hear that rappers and entertainers brag about being there and shit. In this mansion, they were hacking into hundreds of cell phones and people were activists. Anybody who opposed the state on this thing called Project Raven, using this program called Karma. So the FBI is looking into it because they want to know if they're taking American tactics and using it over there, which would mean somebody needs to get killed to fight. So it turns out there's a church in southern Texas that actually is right next to the border of Mexico. It's called La Lomita Catholic Church, and they are in court battles with the government for trying to use eminent domain in order to claim that land so that they could run the border wall that they don't even have funding for through that land, which would essentially make a part of Texas Mexico officially or whatever. The crazy thing about, for those who don't know, eminent domain is basically the government, whether it's on a state or local level or on a national level, using its power, saying that the need for this land goes past your personal need for it. So here, take this money and get the fuck out of here. The crazy thing about it though is that everybody in that town, which is considered one of the safest places in America, don't see no threat. So, stay tuned. It's your Grady, streets reporter of the New World Order and editor-in-chief of Black Fox News, letting y'all know what the fuck going on. Check this out, man. There's this company in Boston called Insys Therapeutics, and the founder of this company, John Kapoor, and 4 other executives are being taken to trial for trying to bribe doctors to use this fentanyl spray. Now, for those who don't know, fentanyl is this highly addictive opioid, and many people have died from it. I mean, from ASAP Yams to Pimp C to Mac Miller recently, to even Prince was found to have been injected with this fentanyl. It's highly dangerous, and people think they dying from lean. So a lot of times it's fentanyl or whatever that's taking them out. Now, they were actually bribing doctors to prescribe this to their patients, having like fake meetings that was supposed to put this stuff on display. Really, they was just trying to seduce them with money and sex, apparently. So shit is crazy, and it lets you know that you can't trust every doctor. Better to go holistic. This dude Tekashi 6ix9ine, who's currently doing Fed time or whatever, or in federal prison or whatever, actually just noted that he pled guilty to 9 counts of the RICO law, which is basically Racketeer Influence and Corrupt Organizations Act, designed to essentially take down organized crime bosses. So him pleading guilty, especially so soon, like before his trial and all of that, for that word to get out, everybody is saying that it's pretty much understood that he must be giving somebody up, especially if you're going to take 9 counts of the RICO that stem from the RICO law on the chin like that. So shit is kind of crazy. I'm gonna give an editor's note about this because this is actually like way deeper than just the situation itself, but I'm just keeping y'all updated. Check this out. So the Washington D.C. courts actually determined that the Syrian government is guilty of the murder in 2012 of a U.S. Sunday Times war reporter by the name of Marie Colvin. Now, she was out in home Syria, to be exact, reporting on the ongoing internal conflicts over there, which, let's be real, there's some external stuff going on there as well, but, I'll get into that on another note. But nevertheless, she's reporting on the war over there. She's finished dealing with CNN, and the courts determined that the government actually tracked her down or was monitoring her, and they apparently struck a building that she was in, and it resulted in her murder in 2012. So the government is ordering that they pay $300 million to the family. So we'll see how this turns out. So we have another female Democratic hat in the ring for the presidential election of 2020, and her name goes by Marianne Williamson. Now, the intrigue, she's an author, celebrity author, I guess you could consider her, a spiritual advisor, known to be a friend of Oprah. She previously ran for a congressional seat back in, a few years back or whatever in California, lost, badly, but nevertheless, she is more so advocating for open dialogue. She thinks we need a spiritual healing, a spiritual awakening as a country, and I'm all for that shit. But most intriguing thing about her, she's advocating for $100 billion in reparations to be given to black people over the course of 10 years, and saying that we would set up councils and to delegate that. So I think she's very interesting. She also advocates for free education and healthcare and whatnot. So we'll see what. The Department of Homeland Security is not fucking playing fair, and I don't think they ever have been. But nevertheless, they went and set up a fake, accredited, STEM-based university called the University of Farmington out in Michigan. They did it just to catch immigration violators. They ended up catching and probably going to systematically violate 8 student recruiters that were taking foreigners who weren't properly documented and enrolling them in the school. Now, what this led to is, like I said, they're going to get violated, but it also led to ICE coming in and arresting almost 130 students rather, because, it's just understood that they weren't even properly documented. So, if your papers ain't right and you in this country, man, watch your ass, because the motherfuckers ain't playing fair, man. The Wall Street Journal has reported that Cuba is next on the motherfucking menu when it comes to giving out these sanctions to Latin American countries. So if you follow me or if you've been paying attention to the news, you know that Venezuela has recently got sanctions and how that's going to affect like Citgo, and they trying to do a coup or get the president out there, a coup d'etat to be exact. Now you're talking about they want to spread that to Cuba. They want to put Cuba on the state-sponsored terror list, which is kind of crazy because we want to do all types of deals with Saudi Arabia, and they're sponsor terrorism and tyranny and all of that, whatever. And on top of that, John Bolton, our national security advisor, actually put Cuba along with Nicaragua and Venezuela on this troika of tyranny list. So the hypocrisy is grave here. But nevertheless, that's what's going on. Everybody thinks Cuba is next. So we got Stacey Abrams, the first ever black female major party gubernatorial candidate for Georgia, throughout the whole country, but she ran for governor of Georgia against Brian Kemp. She actually lost in an election that he rigged as the Secretary of State by, suppressing black votes. So he's most likely a racist. Nevertheless, this same female, this same Spelman College alum, shout out to everybody from the AUC, because your boy, you got a Morehouse man standing in front of you, big. But nevertheless, she has been chosen to give the State of the Union address response to whatever bullshit that Donald Trump has to spew. Now, this is big. Not only is she coming off of that race and has to, address some things or whatever, she tends to speak for us, and she'll be the first person that's actually not an elected official to do so. Only thing I question is her, paying homage to George H.W. Bush. So at the end of the day, the House of Representatives actually passed a bill that calls for the federal election day, the day where you vote for president, to be a national holiday. Now, it would seem that in order to maximize the efficiency of democracy, you would want to maximize voter participation, right? Why not make it on a day that they all can get to? Other countries have it on weekends, or they make their election days holidays or whatever. Why wouldn't we? The U.S. House of Representatives actually voted for this. So for those who don't know, these are an accumulation of all the representatives that you or your grandparents might have voted for in your local district. It aggregates all of them all over the country together and has them in a room, basically working on bills that will have to be approved by other parts of government. So it's fair to say it's the want of the people, right? Senator Mitch McConnell doesn't think so. He said it's a power grab for what? Democracy? The craziest thing is, I don't even have to tell you what parties. Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders actually introduced to us in the state tax that actually he wanted to lower the threshold of when the estates get taxed. So for those who don't know, in the state tax is when actual taxes are applied to inheritance. Essentially to like get rich people and rich families to spread the wealth or whatever. The last year's Republican tax bill in 2017 actually raised that tax bill, that threshold, to 11 million or something like that. When previously it was at 3.5 million, and now this bill gets lowered back down to 3.5 million. So shout out to Bernie Sanders, always looking out for the people. We'll see if it gets signed into law. Only time will tell. Hopefully people come to their senses. So, we have a new black man on the Democratic ticket for the 2020 presidential election, and that is New Jersey Senator Cory Booker. Now, let me tell y'all that I'm from Jersey, so this man actually ran for mayor in Newark, ran against a dude that was there for years, and he just by just good character and quality, and possibly because he's light skinned, actually was able to win the hearts of most voters and win out. But even while he held his position, he really did his thing and showed love to a lot of people. I mean, I see him on Twitter, even following rappers and everything. So it's kind of like, I have some respect for him. It should be noted that he co-sponsored the recent First Step Act. He's pro marijuana legalization. Only knocks against him is that he definitely got big money from Big Pharma and from Wall Street. So, but he says he's willing to pull that aside. We'll see what happens. Greenwald. So it turns out that the Texas Catholic Church actually determined that within the state there have been 286 priests since 1950 that were determined to have sexually abused kids. Now, this is alarming. You see this popping up in other places as well. They got a whole probe going on in PA, and really they need to do this shit every fucking where. But let's keep it real though. There's a global vow to secrecy that was set up by the Vatican shit back in the I think it was 1950s or 60s or whatever. But let's keep it real. That's on file. We actually showed that in one of our broadcasts. Check broadcast number 6. I mentioned that at the end of it, and actually even showed the document. So none of this sex abuse stuff should be a surprise. The only thing that should be a surprise is if they completely eradicate the Catholic Church, because that's most likely what needs to be the fuck done. I mean, let's keep it real. Motherfuckers is filthy. It's no simpler than that. So stay tuned, man. Walgreen and Grand. 56 million Native Americans were determined to have been killed between 1492 and 1600. It was so many people killed that what the story that's out now was that actually altered the temperature and the carbon dioxide emissions on Earth. You're talking about 56 million Native Americans between North, Central, and South America, all killed by these European settlers. I mean, sure there were battles for it. It wasn't just they just stood there and died, but 56 million, that's a lot of people. So it was definitely done by hook and crook. We already know about the stories during Thanksgiving and King Philip's War and the slavery and the smallpox. A setup against the Wampanoags and all of that shit. So shit is crazy, man, to even learn that. 56 million, that's a lot of people. So much so that it altered the temperature of the Earth. Check this out. The U.S. government has officially pulled out of the INF. That is the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty, which was something set by Ronald Reagan, our former U.S. president in the 80s, and then between him and Mikhail Gorbachev. Those are the people that signed off on it. He's Gorbachev, however you pronounce the name is the former leader of the Soviet Union, which is now Russia. So for us to pull out of this treaty has great implications, actually. You're talking about two world powers. The terms of the treaty was to get rid of all nuclear and non-nuclear close and mid-range missiles. Essentially to keep the two world powers at bay. But now that we're out of this treaty, especially with the accusation of them not following it, who knows?